What's up, guys? Mr. Point here. Second video I'm doing on this assignment. It's not anything new. It's because the audio wasn't working apparently the first time around, but let's try to get this going again. So we are doing word problems, and it's covering everything that we've covered so far. Finding the vertex, and using the quadratic formula to our advantage. Pretty simple stuff today. I know word problems get a lot of people, worked up, or they get a little bit of anxiety, but I'm telling you right now, problems 1, 2, and 3, if you're able to understand problem number 1, 2, and 3 are pretty much the same, and that's your homework for today. So that's the goal for the week. Couple notes is that we won't have a quiz this week. Second thing is that the reason why we're not having a quiz this week is that we're going to go ahead and instead of meeting up for a quiz and review on Friday, you're going to be working with your English teachers because they lost out on that Monday due to the Memorial Day, which is totally understandable. So heads up, we're not meeting up on Friday. No quiz this Friday, which is a great thing. We're almost there. I think it's around like 2.5 weeks left of school. So it's been crazy times. I miss you guys a lot. But let's try to finish up strong. So problem number 1, it says a soccer ball is kicked from the ground with the initial upward velocity of 90 feet per second. So it's shooting up, right? So taking a quick little break from reading the problem, you got a little ball right here, right? And it's shooting up going this way, right? Now it says the equation is h is equal to negative 16t squared plus 90t, where h is the height and t is time. But to make things easier, this equation right here is producing this graph. Not the most accurate, but that's how a soccer ball is projecting when it's shooting up into the sky after being kicked. So h is height, t is time. So first it says it wants to find the maximum height. So the first thing is we need to find out the max height right here. So that's the max height. So the max height is a 2-step process, and you've done this last week, all right? The max height is, first we need to find out x. X reality is what's the time when it reaches the maximum height, and that can be found, if you remembered last week, negative b over 2a. So we got to find our a, b, and c. So our a is negative 16, our b is positive 90, and our c is 0. There's a number at the very end it's attached to any variable, so it's be 0. That's important for later, but not for this problem, right? So we're gonna go ahead, put it back in. So negative 90 over, and I got 2 times negative 16, right? And if you put that into the calculator, you're gonna get 2.8 seconds. Well, this doesn't answer our final question, but it helps us get to the final question. So it says it'll take 2.8 seconds to get to your maximum height. Well, we know our maximum height. We know our height formula, not our maximum height, but we know our height formula is right over there. That's your equation. So we're gonna put time back into the equation, and that's gonna allow us to figure out what height is the max height. So height is equal to negative 16, right? And we're gonna go 2.8 squared plus 90 times 2.8, right? And if you put that into your calculator, you should get around 126.56. What is it? This one is feet. So just your final answer, the max height is at 126.56. But if they want to translate even further, is that it'll take you 2.8 seconds to get to your maximum height of 126.56. But anytime they tell you to just tell you the max height, that's the only number that you have to give. Now, the last part is pretty simple. It's just going to take a little bit of work. So it says, how many seconds will it take for the ball to reach the ground? Now, before we do anything, we need to talk about when it's going to hit the ground. There's 2 times it's going to hit the ground. I'm going to do this in red over here. You got 1 time it hits the ground over here, and another time it hits the ground. This very first one doesn't count because it's already stationary at the ground waiting for it to be kicked up into the air. The one that we're looking for, right, is this one. We need to figure out when it's going to go ahead and hit the ground after being kicked. So how do we do that? Well, quickest way is using the quadratic formula. And so that's x is equal to, and then we're going to go ahead and do negative b plus minus radical b squared minus 4ac over 2a. Now, all these letters look confusing, but we've already found them. We found them earlier. I told you that c was going to come back. So now all we got to do is plug it in. So we're going to have negative 90 plus minus radical and then I have 90 squared minus 4 times negative 16 times 0, right, over 2 times negative 16. Now, a couple of ways we can approach this. I'll make this simple. Take care of what's inside of the radical. Don't worry about putting the radical in the calculator. So if you're only dealing with what's inside of the radical, I'm going to have negative 90 plus minus radical 8100 over, and in the bottom I can multiply 2 times negative 16, that's going to be negative 32. And if you put 1800 into the calculator, radical square root of 1800, that's negative 90 plus minus 90 over negative 32, right? So calculator work, it just looks long plugging it in, but keep in mind you do have the advantage of using your calculator. Now we have a plus minus, so we have two solutions here, right? So let's split them up. So I have negative 90 plus 90 over negative 32, right? Then I have negative 90 minus 90 over negative 32. Now this one, negative 90 plus 90, that's going to be 0 over negative 32. So my first answer is 0. I'll explain what that 0 means in a bit, and it goes back to the diagram. The second one is going to be negative 180 over negative 32. And if you go and divide that, that's going to be equal to 5.625 seconds, right? This is also seconds. Now, we talked about 2 places in time when the ball is going to be hitting the ground. Well, at 0 seconds means that we haven't kicked the ball yet. So this answer, while it does generate from the actual quadratic formula, we won't be using it, right? Because they're asking when it's going to be hitting or returning to the ground. But the time it's going to hit the ground, it's going to be the 5.625 seconds. So you're going to get 2 answers. That's okay. You just got to understand what the first time is when it has been kicked, and the second time is when it goes back into the ground. All right, guys. Hope you guys had again a happy Memorial Day. Stay safe. I miss you guys very much, and I'll see you guys soon. Take care.